There's much less seichel, much less oir, but it's the reality itself. We explained many times. An empty room, an empty dining room, already has a table and chairs in it. By virtue of its own reality, not by bringing tables inside, not by accommodating guests, but accommodating the wholeness of this room itself. So when inside, the expressing, what you're expressing is not from a seichel perspective, from a seichel level, but from an essential level, from a rotzen level. This is why this is the superiority of keili. We said last night that this is on a practical and avoidable level. This is comparable to the inyan of Kabbalah soil, Malchus Shemayim, doing a mitzvah because the king is here and he said to do it. This is like being an insider. And then understanding it is understanding how you understand it to yourself. So therefore you say that it has to be both, Nasa and Yishu. Okay. Nasa, the initial Nasa is by declaring we are inside. Then once we're inside, we try to understand it and and explain it to our own seichel. But as insiders. Not as outsiders. Once I start, I don't know where to stop. We had this interchange in questioning on our blog. We're talking about free choice, free will. So we're discussing the various aspects about this, particularly from the perspective as that the Rambam asked a question that Hashem knows everything before it occurs, and therefore it has to occur the way He knows it. How do you say it's free choice? This is the question, the classic question that Rambam discusses it. So this one is asking this question. So I said, look, the Rambam is asking this question. He says this is beyond our understanding. So this man says, beyond understanding, I don't understand. I don't understand this whole answer. If we have this question, that it contradicts a logical thing, then we have to reject it. You remember that? You have to reject it. That's an outsider. You're trying to understand something which is an internal reality. From outside, there's no way. So this is what I terminated by coming here. I said, listen, I'm not going there. All right. Now let's go inside. The last word on the second line from the top of page Chavdal. Move on. The similar thing is can be drawn and understood. In principle, the idea from keilim be having a superiority over others. An interesting insight from that the Rebbe is bringing out. Mimoshol de nitzul haniglo min hashaheres. We mentioned before that the union of keilim is like a nitzutz, like a spark that sparkles out and jumps away and separates from the flame. A coal, which is a hot coal, it's fire inside, and this internal fire can be found on two levels outside. There is a shalhavas, there is a flame. The flame is an expression of the fire element of the hot coal, not the coal. You blow on the coal and a flame comes out. The flame doesn't compare to the simmering coal inside, the heat inside. It doesn't compare at all. It spreads out and so forth, but it doesn't compare. So the moshel that's given in shalhavas, the oil is like the shalhavas. And the nitzutz, the spark, is like the keili. Sparkles out. How is that so much? Because the sparkle, that actually separates from the keili. The shalhavas, the flame is always attached to the coal. The spark jumps away. So this spark, hanivdal min shalhavas, that separates from the flame. So there we also see this in Sharei HaNitzutz, since that the nitzutz, this spark, who miguf ve'etzem hagacheles, the spark is a spark of the coal, not from the flame. Flame doesn't give off sparks. The tongues of flame, fire. A spark is from etzem hagacheles. V'hashalheves, in contrast, the flame is not the gacheles itself. Interesting how in that very emotional, I was pointing out, the difference between the spark, which is the etzem, which is not the flame, the gacheles, the source of the flame, the coal. I will give an illustration for this.
Sorry, we were illustrating what now?
Huh?
Illustrating what?
That the spark is not from the flame, but it is from the source of the flame. Today we have, and in those days also, we have very prevalent. We have these quiet flames. Flames that do not consume the wick. The paraffin candles. The wick, which we have the same wick since the beginning of time. And like these candles are, and it burns only the fuel. It's a quiet fire. You'll never see a sparkling go through. So the spark is from the wick.
From the material.
From the material. From the gacheles.
Okay.
Right, which is the spark is the keili, is what that is. That which remains from the gacheles after the tzimtzum.
What is the fuel in this motion?
The fuel in what?
Here saying the spark originates not from the flame, which we think of as aura property.
In the gacheles itself, you know, a coal is not a piece of wood. A coal has fuel in it. This fuel is a flame. But this flame, this fuel, has a material. It has a a wick. The wick is the material of the coal.
Right. I'm saying that materiality corresponds to keili.
No, this materiality.
What is the coal? What's in the nimshal? What is the coal?
The coal is the essence. In this essence, there is the fuel, and there is the essence itself. The spark is representative of a sparkling of the essence of the coal. So the nitzutz is miguf etzem hagacheles. Shaheves ain't the etzem hagacheles. Shaheves is not the etzem hagacheles. The shaheves is the flame is from the fuel that's in the gacheles. V'zehu hatam. Okay, we're not finished with this, but now we're going to real depth. Zehu hatam. This, in fact, is the reason. Excuse me. Ma shehoiros yordim lehislabesh behakelim. The fact that the oiros descend to be imbued into the keili. The oiros sort of are drawn, and they have a sort of desirous to be in the keili. Why is that? They're superior to the keili. Why do you want to be established in keili? Who it is? Mach mashoyres hakeilim shelamayla mehoiros. Because of the fact that the keilim have a higher shoyres than the oiros. The keilim are representative of the essence, and the oiros are representative of the content of the essence, of the richness of the essence.
So, like, the lights are kind of attracted to
Sorry?
them. The light is, as it were, attracted to these keilim because of their
because they have sorry. That's not going to help.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they are seeking to be substantiated.
Huh. Okay. Usually we think of light as satisfied unto itself. But
Light is not, well, light is not satisfied himself. Light has a reality and represents a reality independently. And the reason it represents a reality because it presents that there is definitely a reality behind it.
there's definitely a reality behind the light, and yet at the same time they seek to be substantiated by the vessels. Yeah.
Right. Substantiated does not mean substantiated to verified, but given a real presence. משקוס במקום אחר. ועל כן, and therefore, be'emes, in truth, ביטול הכלים, the beetle of the keilim, מגיע למעלה מביטול האלוהי. Reaches higher than the beetle of the earth. Now we need to focus in on the word beetle. Beetle means nullification, self-nullification. And why is there such a thing as nullification? Why would anything self-nullify? On the contrary, in our world, everything is seeking to self-enhance. Why is self-nullification? It is due to the recognition that the real thing is where this is coming from, not what I am. In order for me to relate to this, which is where it's coming from, I have to submit myself, be mvatla myself, and say, this is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking the inside, not what I can see and experience and appreciate. This is the beetle. There's a beetle in the oiles and there's a beetle in the keili. And both are bottled to their source. We'll take our gross, low-level illustration of this. Like we said, we have a room full of furniture. Each piece of furniture fits into the essence and what this room stands for. And it has its place and in proximity to other pieces. If you have a bed in the middle of a dining room, and the bed is not bottled to the dining room, it's out of kilter.
Out of what?
Kilter. Doesn't fit. It's calling attention to itself rather than to the room.
That's illustrating.
Huh?
And that's illustrating
The principle of beetle.
Does that represent a person that doesn't recognize
No.
the yesh?
The principle of beetle.
Okay. Okay. That it says here in Ken BMS Bitul HaKeilim.
The alkane.
Yeah, sorry. The Alkane Bitul HaKeilim. Why not Shoresh HaKeilim? This that we suddenly got into Bitul, and Keilim seem to be not Bitul.
Good. The answer to this is, we talked about the Shoresh HaKeilim. Now we're coming to a place where the keilim are mitzias and the oiles are mitzias. On the further end, Shoresh HaKeilim, the way it is in Shoresh. Now, what happens on the functional level? Like we always say, oiles, this is the real thing. When you on the receiver's side.
You see the or is the real thing.
Or is the real thing. You get the real life element of the seichel. Keilim is just words.
Right, and they're mitzias and they're not bittul to.
They're not beetles. It says no, beetle HaKeilim is deeper than the beetle of the oiles.
Okay, and the meaning here of Bitul HaKeilim was explained by this piece of furniture that was the wrong size for the room.
Mm-hmm.
Showing on a piece that's the correct size is actually mavatal to its purpose there.
That's right. Having explained this, this whole phenomenon that the superiority of keilim versus the oiles, all the way to the point of saying, as we said, the moshel of the nitzuts, that the keili actually comes from the mitzias, from the gacheles, whereas the oil comes from the shalheves. What illuminates a room? The coal or the flame?
Right.
The flame. The flame is not the coal, it's not the source. The nitzuts, that represents a source. Yeah.
So by the room again, it's the flame that illuminates, but yet the nitzut saying the fuel is more.
This light that emanates from the flame, can that kindle something else?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
The light?
Oh no, the heat. Yeah, the light. No.
The heat is not the denomination. This is the flame itself. Talking about the light.
Right. Will not
affect anything. I mean, it gives light. This is the oil element. Whereas the nitzut has an actual mitzias of the gacheles. So this, I mean, believe me, we'll regurgitate this many times over, but just want to get to the point. As we said here, the Gitzut is from the Etzem HaGachelis, and that is the point that we were making the whole time, that the keili is actually the Etzem of the original Etzem. That's a keili. It existed in the original mitzvahs, and this is what remains after the tzimtzum.
Okay, and this that the spark can ignite something else shows on it showing on the keili being higher, coming from a higher source.
It is astral fire, right? And then he goes further down. There came be'emes. Be'emes, I mentioned it many times, and the word be'emes implies that at first glance you would think differently. But be'emes means if you look at it from a truth perspective, as an insider, then you realize that the keilim, the beetle of the keilim, is superior to that of the beetle of the earth. So beetle, the relationship to its source, its submission to the source. The beetle of the keilim is superior to that of the earth. This, and we're talking about after it becomes a keilim, after it becomes an earth, which is completely counterintuitive. This is why he says be'emes. But in truth, this is the way it is. Shezeh inyan hagdomas nasa lenishma. This is the principle of nasa coming before nishma. Nasa is a very simple thing. Do nishma means get your seichel involved in get and labor to understand it. Nasa is a very simple action, and yet nasa precedes nishma. The nasa who habitul mitzvah hakei. Nasa represents the beetle mitzvah hakei from the keili. Excuse me, it's in the keili aspect. We explained this. We used this as a muscle to explain the Indian, and now we have it inside, and we will continue mitzvah Shem next time. Okay, have a great day.
I try to understand as much as I could.
Good for you. Oh, that's what we all do.
My brain doesn't want to.